Hey, I'm a psychiatrist, and today I'm breaking down what actually works for sleep. Not just stuff that sounds good, not the stuff that Instagram wellness influencers tell you. I'll be discussing points that have actual clinical evidence behind them. Now, I recently read through a major clinical practice guideline from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, which is basically where sleep researchers look at all the evidence and they tell doctors what actually works. And some of the conclusions, I have to say, even surprised me in practice. You see, sleep is a huge issue for many people in the world, and the NIH estimates the number of people struggling with sleep problems in the US alone may be up to 70 million people. That's a wild number. Now, if you're new here, I'm Dr. Joseph, and as a psychiatrist, I treat people with sleep disorders nearly every single day. I started this channel to make mental health make sense for you, so hit subscribe for more helpful videos like this. So our first point regarding getting the best sleep of your life will probably shock you, and that is sleep hygiene by itself doesn't work for chronic insomnia. And insomnia pretty much means a difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or even waking up too early, which can cause chronic sleep deprivation and cause daytime struggles, including tiredness and functional decline. Now, as a reminder, sleep hygiene are all those general recommendations you've heard a million times. Keep your room cool and dark, or avoid caffeine after 2 p.m., or don't look at screens before bed, or even exercise regularly but not too close to bedtime. All that stuff. And yes, these things can help create conditions that support good sleep. But here's what the research shows, and this is huge. When sleep hygiene is used as the only treatment for people with actual insomnia, it doesn't work well enough to recommend. In fact, the clinical guideline I mentioned, it specifically says clinicians should not use sleep hygiene as a single component therapy. They made a partial recommendation against this. Now think about this. Let's say someone's been struggling with insomnia for many months. They can't fall asleep. They wake up multiple times at night and they're exhausted all day. And the doctor says, hey, just practice good sleep hygiene. Now, that person might, buy a blackout curtain, they might avoid your phone before bed, and keep their room at like a crisp 67 degrees. But if that's all they do, the research shows that it's probably not going to fix the problem. Now, here's why. It appears that sleep hygiene addresses the environment and behaviors around sleep, but it doesn't address the underlying mechanisms that keep insomnia going. Things like the learned association between your bed and being awake, or the anxiety about not sleeping, or the way your brain has gotten stuck in patterns that perpetuate the sleep problem. So, does this mean that sleep hygiene is useless? No, it's not. It's helpful as part of a bigger approach, but it's not the whole situation. And spending all your time and energy on just sleep hygiene might actually delay you from getting treatments that work way better. Okay, our second point, and this is where we get into something that actually works, and that is something called stimulus control. Now, this is one of the most evidence-backed approaches for improving sleep, and is built on a pretty simple idea. Your brain learns associations, right? And right now, if you've been lying in bed for hours night after night, your brain has learned that bed equals being awake and frustrated. And we need to retrain that association to bed equals sleep. Now, here are the 5 stimulus control instructions, and I want you to really hear these because they're specific for a reason. Okay, first, go to bed only when you're sleepy, not tired. Sleepy. Now, there's a difference. Tired is, I've had a long day. Sleepy is, my eyelids are heavy and I could fall asleep right now. Okay, second, if you can fall asleep within 15 to 20 minutes, get out of bed. Go to another room. Do something quiet and boring until you feel sleepy again. Then you go back to bed. Now, this one's hard for people because it feels counterintuitive, but it works because you're teaching your brain that bed is for sleeping, not for lying awake worrying. Okay, third, use your bed and bedroom for sleep and sex only. No reading in bed, no scrolling on your phone, no watching TV, and definitely no working. Your bed is not your office. Okay, 4. Wake up at the same time every single morning, even on weekends, even if you had a terrible night of sleep, because this helps regulate your body's internal clock. 5. No daytime napping, or if you absolutely must nap, keep it under 30 minutes and make sure it's before 3 p.m. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Dr. J, that sounds miserable. You want me to just get out of bed when I can't sleep in the middle of the night? Yes, that's exactly how it works. Now, think about this. Picture someone who's been lying in bed for 2 hours, right? Trying to force themselves to fall asleep. Their anxiety is building and building, and they're getting more and more frustrated. Now they're checking the clock. They're calculating how many hours of sleep they'll get if they fell asleep right now. That person is generally reinforcing the association between their bed and being awake and anxious. Now, picture that same person following stimulus control. They notice they've been awake for 20 minutes, so they get up, they go sit on the couch, they read something boring in very dim light, and then they wait until they actually feel sleepy. Then they go back to bed. And so their brain starts learning, oh, bed is where sleeps happen, not where I lie awake and worry. And the research on this is very solid, actually. It received a conditional recommendation in the guideline, meaning it works, it's relatively low risk, and it's really worth trying. All right, our third point sounds totally backwards, and that is sleep restriction therapy. Here's how it works. Let's say you're currently spending 9 hours in bed, but only sleeping for 6 of those hours. Sleep restriction, you would limit your time in bed to 6 hours flat. That's it. You're matching the time in bed to actual sleep time. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait, I'm already not sleeping enough. Why would I want less time in bed? Great question, and I'll explain why. You see, when you spend way more time in bed than you're actually sleeping, your sleep gets fragmented. So sleep restriction builds up sleep drive, which is your body's need for sleep. So when you finally do lie down, you fall asleep faster and sleep more subtly. Now, over time, as your sleep efficiency improves, you gradually increase your time in bed, but you start sleep restriction therapy to build that pressure. Now, a super important safety note here, and that is sleep restriction can cause daytime sleepiness, especially in the beginning. So working closely with a professional is super ideal so they can monitor your progress and adjust your schedule as needed. Okay, our fourth point, and this is a really big one. It's the only treatment that got a strong recommendation in this guideline, and that is CBT-I, which stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Insomnia. CBT-I combines multiple approaches. It includes stimulus control, sleep restriction, education about sleep, and cognitive strategies to address unhelpful thoughts about sleep. Some versions even include relaxation training. Now, the evidence for CBT-I is really strong. We're talking 40+ studies showing clinically meaningful improvements in sleep quality, how long it takes to fall asleep, and how much you wake up during the night, and even remission rates. Here's what makes CBT-I different from just trying sleep tips on your own. It's structured and it's personalized. Now, a trained therapist would work with you typically over 4 to 8 sessions to identify your specific patterns and then adjust strategies based on what's working over time. Now, the benefits are super durable, meaning that they usually last way beyond the end of treatment. So you're not dependent on, taking something every night or doing a specific routine forever. You're actually retraining your brain and your behaviors around sleep. Now, the guideline gives CBT-I a strong recommendation for treatment of chronic insomnia. Sitting here, I know some people are thinking, that sounds great, Dr. J, but I don't know any CBT therapist, and that probably costs a fortune. Well, those are super fair points. Access is a real challenge. Not every area of the country has CBT-I trained providers. It can also be quite expensive if insurance doesn't cover it. But, and this is very important, CBT-I is also available in other formats now. There are group versions, internet-based programs, even apps that are based on CBT-I principles. And the guideline says clinicians should discuss different delivery methods with patients based on what's accessible and what the patient prefers. Now, if you found this helpful for your sleep or that of a friend, I want you to subscribe so you don't miss future discussions like this. I also think you'll like my other videos, including my latest one tagged right here. Lastly, I want you to drop a comment with 1 or 2 tips for falling asleep effectively that you've seen work in your own life. I'm Dr. Joseph, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.